this academy midfielder who captained City's youth sides, the teenager known for scorpion kicks and long-range chips, the prospect Pep invited to train but didn't immediately trust. This version is different. In 2025, he signed a 5-year contract extension running to 2030. He scored at the Santiago Bernabéu in the Champions League. He broke into England's senior squad and debuted at Wembley. He transitioned from attacking midfielder to a hybrid left-back and didn't just survive, he started decisive games. By February 2026, he had already delivered in the league, in Europe, and in high-pressure moments that usually belong to veterans. And then came the night against Newcastle. 2 goals, 1 title race statement, 1 performance that forced everyone to reassess him. But this story isn't about one game. It's about how Pep Guardiola reshaped him, why his positional shift changed everything, and the exact moment a promising academy talent became essential, because Nico O'Reilly isn't emerging anymore. He's arrived. This is the part people miss. Nico O'Reilly didn't appear in the Manchester City first team. He was tracked into it. He joined City when he was 8 years old, and that matters because at this club, the academy isn't about vibes. It's about details, spacing, scanning, timing, decision-making. Whether you can play Pep football without being coached through every touch. By 2022/23, O'Reilly wasn't just another talent in the system. He was the under-18s captain, the player teammates followed, the one trusted to manage games when things got chaotic. And then the moments started happening. In April 2023, he scored the kind of goal that goes viral even in academy football. A 95th-minute scorpion kick winner against Middlesbrough. A finish that screamed confidence, improvisation, personality. A week later, he did it again. This time with range, a long-distance strike in the Manchester derby at under-18 level, showing he wasn't just flair, he had end product. But here's the important part. Pep Guardiola doesn't promote players because Twitter clips look good. Before O'Reilly ever debuted, he was already being tested in the background, taken on the first-team warm-weather camp to Abu Dhabi in December 2022, placed around senior pros, asked to follow instructions, to learn the rhythm, to keep the ball moving at City speed. And the first real signal of proximity came soon after. May 24th, 2023, he was included in a Premier League matchday squad away at Brighton. He didn't come on, but he was there, in the room, in the plan. So no, this rise wasn't random. The talent was obvious, but the trust, that had to be earned. 1 session, 1 instruction, 1 decision at a time. This is where perception changed. Not overnight, not through one viral performance, but through stages, carefully measured, deliberately earned. His senior debut came on August the 10th, 2024, in the FA Community Shield against Manchester United. That alone is telling. Pep Guardiola could have protected him, eased him in during a low-stakes domestic cup tie. Instead, O'Reilly's first official senior appearance came on a Wembley stage against City's biggest domestic rival. That wasn't symbolic, it was diagnostic. In that match, he wasn't asked to dazzle. He was asked to function, keep positional discipline, respect structure, circulate possession at senior speed. Those are the first tests in Guardiola's system. Not creativity, but reliability. He passed them, and once Pep sees that you won't break the rhythm, he gives you the ball more often. The real momentum began on January 11th, 2025, in the FA Cup third round against Salford City. City won 8-0. O'Reilly scored his first senior goal that afternoon. More important than the goal itself was how he scored it, timing his run into the box, arriving late, finishing cleanly. And that matters in a Guardiola side where positional timing is choreographed to the second. If Salford was confirmation, Plymouth Argyle on March 1st, 2025, in the FA Cup 5th round was escalation. City won 3-1 and O'Reilly scored twice, his first senior brace. This wasn't academy flair anymore. These were goals under pressure in a competitive knockout tie. He showed 2 different qualities: composure inside the box and instinctive movement beyond defenders. He wasn't drifting wide, hoping to influence play. He was arriving centrally, attacking second phases, understanding when to leave midfield space to become an extra attacker. That's Guardiola's language, numerical superiority in the final third, and O'Reilly was starting to speak it fluently. Then came March 30th, 2025, the FA Cup quarter-final away to Bournemouth. This is the performance that insiders circle. City won 2-1 and O'Reilly provided both assists. But it wasn't just about the numbers, it was about the responsibility. Quarterfinals are not development matches, they're defining matches. Guardiola trusted him in a knockout game that demanded control and composure, and O'Reilly didn't shrink. His contributions weren't hopeful crosses or loose transitions. They were calculated passes after manipulating defensive shape. He wasn't just reacting to play, he was shaping it. This was the moment he stopped being a talented academy player and started being a tactical option. 3 days later, on April 2nd, 2025, the signal became undeniable. His first Premier League start against Leicester City. Now the cup apprenticeship moved into league responsibility. This is where Pep is ruthless. If you don't keep tempo, you don't play again. O'Reilly played the full 90 minutes in a 2-0 win. Calm in possession, secure in duels, intelligent positioning in build-up. He wasn't spectacular, he was stable, and stability is the currency that buys minutes in this team. 10 days later, on April 12, 2025, he scored his first Premier League goal in a 5-2 win over Crystal Palace. Again, timing. Again, late movement into the box. Again, decisive. At that point, the narrative shifted quietly inside the club. He wasn't just surviving senior football, he was contributing in multiple competitions. FA Cup, Premier League, and doing it without disrupting the structure around him. Notice something. He didn't explode in one headline performance. He accumulated trust. Community Shield in August, FA Cup goal in January, FA Cup brace in March, quarter-final assists at the end of March, league start in early April, league goal 10 days later. Cup trust became league trust. Pep's model is incremental. He increases responsibility only when behaviour justifies it, and O'Reilly kept justifying it. Originally deployed in advanced midfield roles, he showed technical security under pressure, progressive passing through lines, spatial awareness in the half spaces, and intelligent box arrivals. He didn't force the game, he read it. And that's why this breakthrough matters. It wasn't hype, it was repetition. Here's the moment the story stops being about breaking through and starts being about becoming necessary. Because in 2025/26, Nico O'Reilly didn't just get more minutes. He got something far rarer at Manchester City, a role Pep Guardiola started building around. Let's start with the clearest signal Pep can give a young player. On September 26th, 2025, City gave O'Reilly a new 5-year contract, keeping him at the club until the summer of 2030. That is not a nice story contract. That's not "we love the academy" PR. That's the club saying, this profile fits our next phase. And then the season started stacking proof. December 10th, 2025, Champions League, Santiago Bernabéu. City go behind, and O'Reilly scores to help spark a 2-1 comeback win over Real Madrid. That's a defining detail, because in Pep's world, big European nights don't belong to prospects. They belong to players he trusts to keep the game intact. November 13th, 2025, England versus Serbia, Wembley. O'Reilly makes his senior England debut at left-back, plays the full 90 minutes, and City's own report notes he helped set up the opening goal. For a player who was an academy midfielder not long ago, that's an identity change being rubber-stamped at international level. And by February 2026, the outputs matched the trust. He wasn't just playing well, he was contributing to results, with 4 Premier League goals by late February, including the brace we'll get to. So the question becomes, how did he get here? Not through one sudden leap, through one decisive transformation. This is where the documentary deepens, because it's the most Guardiola thing about this whole story. O'Reilly came through as a midfielder, the kind of player people describe with soft words: flair, touch, grace. But Pep didn't just use him, Pep repurposed him. By late 2025, tactical analysis framed it clearly. O'Reilly had emerged as City's first-choice left-back, despite only making his full Premier League debut months earlier. That's not normal development. That's a coach looking at a midfielder and seeing a modern weapon. A player who can defend wide, step inside, and still arrive in the box like a number 8. And when you watch his usage, you can see the pattern. In build-up, he starts as a left-back, not hugging the touchline to overlap like a classic fullback, but positioned to stabilise the first phase, be available, keeps circulation clean and gives City a safe exit. In possession, he becomes an interior. This is the inverted logic Guardiola loves. Fullback on paper, midfielder in reality. He steps inside to give an extra passing angle, helps City overload central lanes, and protect against counters by being close enough to win the ball back quickly. In the final third, he becomes a secondary box attacker. This is the part defenders hate because he's not marked like a forward, but he arrives like one. It's not random roaming, it's timed arriving. That's why his goals don't feel accidental. They look like the end of a repeatable pattern. And physically, he fits the role in a way City can exploit. City's own interview piece underlined the frame, 6'4" and seamlessly transitioned into the first team squad. Height at fullback changes matchups. You win aerial duels at the back post. You become a threat on set plays and second phases. You can defend the far side against teams who target the opposite winger. Add in his left foot balance and his calm under pressure, and now you have something Guardiola values almost more than speed. Control. This isn't just a midfielder filling in at left back, it's a structural choice. O'Reilly gives City an extra midfielder without losing a defender on the team sheet. That's the key. He didn't just adapt, he expanded. Manchester City walked into match week 27 on February 21st, 2026, knowing the maths. Win, and the gap to Arsenal becomes 2 points. Lose, and the chase starts to slip. That's the context that changes the air inside a stadium. And Newcastle didn't arrive to play the role of supporting cast. They came fresh from a 6-1 Champions League win over Qarabag in midweek, full of running, confidence, and the kind of intensity that can turn City's calm into discomfort. So what made this night different? It wasn't just that Nico O'Reilly scored twice, it was how those goals happened and what they revealed about his role in Pep Guardiola's structure. On paper, City were listed in a 4-1-3-2. In practice, it behaved like a Guardiola box, a 4-2-2-2 box midfield look, with O'Reilly positioned high enough to attack, but connected enough to help City overload central zones. And that's the first key. Newcastle's midfield couldn't settle. When City built, Newcastle had to decide, step out and press. The first line leaving space behind, or hold shape and let City advance with control. They tried both. City punished both. The first goal came in the 14th minute, and it's the clearest example of why Pep trusts O'Reilly now. He reads the trigger instantly. City's pressure forces a messy moment, and Newcastle's left side loses security. Match coverage described Dan Burn conceding possession, Omar Marmoush carrying the ball forward, and the ball being worked into O'Reilly's lane. Then O'Reilly does the part that separates a nice academy midfielder from a senior-level match winner. He doesn't overplay it. He takes one look and he hits through the ball, a left-footed strike that beats Nick Pope. City's match report framed it as a deserved lead after a superb start, and that matters because it wasn't a smash-and-grab moment. City were on Newcastle early, forcing the tempo. But the deeper layer is tactical. This is an interior player in a fullback body. O'Reilly scores that goal because he's not standing wide waiting to overlap. He's close enough to arrive like a number 8 while still being part of City's rest defence structure. And that's Guardiola's favourite type of goal, the extra man arriving untracked. Newcastle didn't fold, they countered. Anthony Gordon especially carried threat down the left, enough that City's report highlights a Gordon effort saved by Donnarumma and additional danger from set plays. And then it happened. 22nd minute, 1-1. The equaliser came from a corner sequence with Lewis Hall's shot deflecting off Ryan Ait-Nouri and wrong-footing Donnarumma. That detail matters because it tells you what Newcastle were doing well. They weren't trying to outpass City for 90 minutes. They were trying to win moments, transitions and set plays where City's structure can be tested. Now we get the sequence that makes the whole performance feel inevitable. 27th minute. City don't wobble after the equaliser. They reset, accelerate again and score within 5 minutes. The construction is the story. Antoine Semenyo feeds Haaland in the right channel. Haaland produces the decisive action, a cross into the box. O'Reilly arrives and finishes it with a leaping header. This is not a random fullback popping up. This is Guardiola's positional play logic in one movement. Start as a defender, operate as an interior, arrive as an attacker. And because O'Reilly is 1.93 meters tall and attacks space aggressively, City suddenly have a late arriving aerial threat that defenders aren't naturally assigned to track. The goal is the position shift chapter coming to life in one frame. If you only remember the brace, you miss what made Pep love this performance. City had to defend a lead under pressure, and Newcastle made it a fight. The match report describes a tense second half with chances both ways, City often countering, and key moments where Newcastle could have equalised. And the numbers back up that it wasn't comfortable. Possession, City 55.1%, Newcastle 44.9%. Shot attempts, City 15, Newcastle 13. Shots on target, 7 each. Saves, City 6, Newcastle 5. That's not dominance, that's control under stress. And that's where O'Reilly's "now he's essential" label starts to make sense, because he wasn't just scoring. He was playing within a structure that still worked when Newcastle tried to turn it chaotic. City's own statistics even frame the historical weight of the moment. O'Reilly's opener was City's 500th home Premier League goal since 2016/17. The win extended City's Premier League home winning run versus Newcastle to 17 straight, with only Everton's 22-game home run versus Fulham longer in English top-flight history. So the game becomes bigger than a brace. It becomes a marker in City history, with O'Reilly's name attached to it, because this wasn't a kid scoring in a blowout. This was a title race swing game against an opponent playing with real intensity, in a match where City had to survive the second half push, and the player who decided it was the one we used to call a prospect. That's why this performance landed differently. It didn't look like promise, it looked like ownership. Pep Guardiola doesn't fall in love with talent, he falls in love with behaviours, and the behaviours O'Reilly has shown across the contract, Europe and England point to the traits Pep builds teams around. Positional intelligence. He understands where the next pass will be before the ball arrives. Tactical obedience without fear, not robotic, not reckless, just consistently on script. Press resistance. He doesn't panic when pressed, he keeps City's rhythm alive. Spatial awareness. He knows when to stay wide, when to step inside, when to arrive late. Defensive reliability plus attacking output, the rare combo that turns a useful player into a must-pick player. And that's what 2025/26 has clarified. Then Flair Academy midfielder, now hybrid defender champions. League scorer at the Bernabéu, England international, and a title race contributor with league goals on the board. So when people ask why City extended him to 2030, the answer is simple. You don't do that for potential, you do it for trajectory. And the trajectory only makes sense when you accept this final truth. This isn't the same Nico O'Reilly. This is Pep Guardiola's newest evolution.